Good day, dear colleagues, dear friends. Welcome to our first event in the virtual hearing series for Central Asia. I need to do the introductions. Please welcome Ben. You know him better probably. You Hello, everyone. Hello. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the event. This will be introduced in greater detail in a short while. Together with Andrei Robochevsky, we'll be hosting this webinar, and we ask you to be paid actively to derive a benefit out of this event. Yeah, my name is Andrei Robochevsky. I am a director for technology programs of ISOC of the Internet Society. It's a pleasure to be the moderator of this event. The objective of the session is to raise awareness of peering and to encourage the development of Internet exchanges in the region. Today we'll be talking about the advantages of having Internet exchanges for internet service providers, content providers, and DNS operators who are developing the internet industry in the region. We'll also focus on the advanced approaches on the building and servicing of internet exchanges, including technical solutions, hosting, personnel, and financing with the aim of developing. Over here, you can see the agenda of today's. The agenda is quite intensive. We will open the session. There will be an official opening and the welcome addresses from the organizers of the event. Jane, Hisham, and Bijal will welcome the participants. And after that, we will give the floor to our wonderful panelists. Today with us, we have Evgeny Morozov from MSKI and Susan Forney from Hurricane Electric. They will be discussing the point in changes and how they operate and what's required in order to set up an internet exchange. We will close the day with a Q&A session. The panelists, you will be able to address your questions to the panelists and active participation from all the attendees. We will be discussing, we wanted to say a big thank you to the who made this event possible. We would thank Flex Optics. They are our partner and our sponsor. They are providing us today with simulation services. Thank you very much, Flex Optics. And you can also click or thumbs up or an applause. You can also applaud the sponsors. Our next sponsor is an organization that needs no introductions. They are not just a media platform, but they are a big support and a partner to IXPs, Stronger and AMS IX6. I don't know whether there are people out there who have never heard about IMS-IX. The Amsterdam Internet Exchange is one of the biggest exchange points in Europe, the Amsterdam Exchange. They are helping us to make the development a reality. And now I would like to give the floor for the official opening of the event to Jane Coffin, Hishan Ibrahim, and Bijal Sangani. They are the representatives of the three entities that are supporting this event: Internet Society, RIPE-NCC, and EuroIX. And I believe that this is pretty symbolic because all these entities, the Internet Society, RIPE-NCC, and EuroIX, are the key driving forces. Of course, with the assistance of the local community, and perhaps it is the local community that's taking the lead, but organizations are definitely the supporting.
Thank you very much, Vahan, and welcome. And thank you all for joining. I know we're really excited across the partnership here from the Internet Society, RIPE, NCC, and EuroIX to have you all here with us today. So thank you very much. As you can see, this is a partnership. And as we often say, we never want to be a single point of failure as a partner, which means that we always do things in collaboration. And of course, that means with our partners, but also with our sponsors. So thank you very much to AM6, Flex Optics, and Facebook for helping sponsor this event. And before I get too far into this opening, I do want to thank the translators. This is something that sometimes people forget to do, and without them, we really can't have this meeting. We, of course, need all of you here with us today, but I want to thank the translators. I've spent many times in international meetings where I have relied very much on the translation, and I want to say thank you in advance. I'm going to be very brief. Many of you know that I am a strong supporter of internet exchange points around the planet. It's really exciting to have this meeting today as a virtual meeting for Central Asia. It's been a pleasure to be in some of the countries in Central Asia myself, but also with my colleagues here. You have a great cast of characters to speak to you and to talk to you more about IXPs. And Vahan have given you a great intro, and you're going to hear from some excellent speakers. But we're excited to have this first virtual peering meeting, and we hope to see many more meetings like this in the future. It's very important to help grow technical communities, as many of you know. There's a long tradition of technical expertise in your regions. So it's exciting to see people here today. I'm going to stay in for as long as I can. It's a little early here in the US, but I just wanted to thank you all and to just say that these meetings are so important to keep people together during COVID, and we really hope that in the future we'll see you in person. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing more internet exchange points in your countries. Thank you very much. Over to Vahan again.
In the Caucasus, she spent a lot of time in the region. So once again, thank you very much for being engaged, for making your personal contribution into this important endeavor. And I'm sure that if you have any questions, Jane is your person, and you can talk to her and she will do everything in her power to come to you. Next speaker is Hisham Ibrahim, of Ripe and
Thank you for that, Vahan. And good afternoon, I'm guessing, for most of you, except Jane. Good morning, Jane. I'm happy to be talking to you all here, and I'm very happy to be seeing a lot of familiar faces and names on this call. My name is Hisham Ibrahim. I work for the RIPE NCC alongside with Vahan. We are part of a team that does community development within the organization. But I won't go into that too much. What I want to talk about very quickly and leave you with a thought so that the speakers can start talking is that when you build an exchange, there is no one right way of building it. There are very different exchanges that operate with very different models, different scales, different ways of approaching it, different ways of starting them. And I want you all to remember that as we continue throughout this series. However, given all the differences within the different exchanges, there are two facts that never change. The first one is the need to have an active community and building a community. And this is something that we're going to be talking about a lot. And we're seeding it here with these efforts. You have your activities on the ground, but nobody would ever talk about an exchange without talking about building communities. So a big focus of what we're going to be talking about is this and the importance of this and how you can build a community around what you're doing. The second bit is knowledge is power in this game. You have to really know what you want to get out of this. There is no one truth, like I said. There's many perspectives. There's many interests. There's many ways of getting things done. So take advantage of this series, and this is what we're trying to do with this series, to showcase over some time and taking advantage of the fact that we're in COVID and we're not limited with a one-day meeting, that we can actually spread this over time, where we run a series where you hear many different perspectives from many different players, whether they're content, whether they're operators, whether they're other exchanges, whether they're in your region, outside of your region, regulatory, governmental. Take in all the different knowledge points and make it your own. See what applies in your local community, what would work and what doesn't work. We've seen many cases where in countries where they failed to build a community, the exchange has failed. And where they've actually managed to build a community, the exchange point worked. And like I said, the knowledge of getting that done and how it applies locally is everything. Similar to what Jane was saying, I like the fact that we're running this as a series. I like the fact that it's bringing down the language barrier. That way we can share a lot more speakers, a lot more thoughts, a lot more countries, a lot more perspectives. And I look forward to a very successful series as we grow this online community until we see you again. And hopefully when we do the Q&A, we get a lot of interventions from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hisham. In addition to what Hisham had, he failed to mention that he has extensive experience of helping build IXPs in Africa. He has extensive experience of cooperating with the community in the Middle East. And if you heard about MINOG, and I hope you did hear about MINOG sometime in the past, well, this organization, the structure, made a new impetus in its development. Really, when Hisham joined, you can talk to Hisham and you can ask him questions about IXP's operations or peering, or you can ask any questions to the forging of the technical community in the region. And last but not least, Vijal Sanghani. Vijal is the general secretary the organization IX. Euro IX, it's called Euro, but in fact, this is of our territory.
Thank you, Vahan. Hello, everyone. It's really lovely to be here. I'm Bijal Sangani from EuroIX, as Vahan mentioned. For those of you that don't know EuroIX is a member association for Internet exchange points. And one of the reasons that EuroX was set up was the knowledge sharing and the experiences that we've with both Hisham and Jane have talked about earlier in their introductions. We are also thrilled to be here and hope to bring the knowledge and experience from the EuroX community also to this peering series. Again, we're thrilled to be here and partnering with ISOC and the RIPE NCC. I'd also like to say thank you to the sponsors. Again, like it's been covered, it's a shame that we are doing this virtually, but I think, at this time when we can't physically meet, it's really important to keep the community connected and learning and growing, because this is then when we get together again face to face, these are things that we can discuss and continue to work on in that way. So with that, I'm also thrilled that we've got this as a series. It's going to be great to bring this content and information to this community, and we hope to see some developments, or at least initial discussions and IXPs and the benefits that they can bring to you in this region. So with that, I will say thank you again for everyone who's attending. We do hope that we can do this in face-to-face at some point. It's a region that I've never visited, and I'm very excited to visit and see you all. So I hope we can do that next year. Thank you very much, and all the best for the panel. Thanks.
What could I add? Could I really say about EuroX? Ucha Saturi and myself, Ucha from Georgia, and we were lucky to be able to participate in EuroX events with our partners from ISOC and of our other partners as well. And this experience for new IXPs and this participation in various EuroTV, learning from the experience accumulated by this organization, by this association, and not only on matters of finance and say, or technical assistance. It is one of the key success factors for the development region. So thank you very much, EuroIX. Thank you, Bijal. And a huge thank you to all our partners. And before we open the panel discussion, let me say some more words about our participants. You may know them, or probably you haven't met them yet, but they are key participants in the process to support the telecom industry in the Caucasus. And Max Tucci. Max, wave your hand. ISOC. So you can contact him with your questions. Mainol with us today. And Alex Semeniaka. You can't see Alex, right? Oh, him actually. Now you can see him. Alex Semeniaka can support you in Russian on all technical matters, the technical advisor in the region of Central Asia, Caucasus, Europe. Thank you. And the next part of our meeting is the panel discussion. After we have listened to the presentations from Evgeny Morozov. Evgeny is the Chief Commercial Officer of the Moscow Internet Exchange, the MSKIX, CCO, right? You are the CCO, Evgeny. Okay, so after Evgeny's presentation, Susan Forney will speak. Susan is the network engineer with Hurricane Electric, a well-established name in the industry, and you can send your questions during the presentations. You can ask them after the speakers. Evgeny, good afternoon, colleagues. It will be able to address you today. On many occasions, I had an opportunity to visit the region, Central Asia, Middle Asia. I have many friends there. There are so many people who I know there, and I couldn't really, although yeah, we are now able to today in okay, so today discussing the internet exchanges, and as someone from MSKIX, I will share with you history of MSKIX. Last year we celebrated 25 years of MSKIX. We have a long track record. We passed through several stages in our development. We experienced several transformations. So this will be the main perspective of the presentation. And I hope that in this story you will find many answers to your questions. You will learn what is an IX, where an IX should manage, what kind of issues an IX addresses or helps. And let me remind you that you can send your questions in during the presentation, or you can after the present, even after the event. I'm always open. I'm at yours. I have already stated last year we celebrated of MSKIX. Back in 1995, there were only 6 telecom operators. It's very difficult to imagine, but take it from me. Those were the times. And back in mid-90s, those 6 telecom operators decided that they needed some kind of infrastructure to exchange traffic. The neighbors who lived in the same building, they had to send emails to each other a long, long route. An email would have Frankfurt and then come back to Moscow. So you can imagine the latency and the suboptimal routes that traffic took. So internet exchange is a resource that enables fast traffic. So at MTS 9, the first switch installed in 1995, and the 6 telecom operators became members of the MSK IX. And after that, we experienced linear growth of our membership. The number of operators was growing. The telecom industry was liberally regulated. There were more and more operators. In 2 years to start an IX in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is the second largest city in Russia. After that, we opened points of presence in Yekaterinburg, Novosibirsk, other places. Right now, MSKIX administers points of and all of the federal districts of Russia. We enable all operators in the Urals. In Siberia, all of Siberia exchanges traffic via Novosibirsk, and in Vladivostok in the Far East, we enable peering for all operators of the Far East. In this regional program, for telecom operators has been and is as the switches were coming to different regions. We also have operators to set up servers in the regions, which enabled traffic exchange. And once this rich and heavy content was made available to users, they didn't need to go to Moscow to get it. The content was with the latencies. I will not on the slide all this timeline of the MSKIX maturity. Perhaps I will mention just a few highlights. What is last year record speed was almost 5 terabit per second. An additional accelerator in this traffic growth obviously was the pandemic. All of this fact, its impact on development of telecom services and the growth of traffic volume. Internet exchanges played a crucial role in supporting managing the traffic at the start of the pandemic when lockdowns were announced. Most people started working remotely. Many operators couldn't manage the workload, and at this point, the majority of traffic around the world was going through IXs, and we, including MSK IX and other IXs as well, we within a period of time set up a new infrastructure, and we help the industry overcome those difficult times. Telecom Italy that didn't use IXs during lockdown decided to connect to internet exchanges because they realized it was a social move on their part. It's what the users needed, it's what the subscribers needed, it's what the people needed, and this is what would enable the country to survive and to continue living. And internet really played an indispensable structure to the users. The ports, the topology, the way the topology is structured, we can now receive traffic that is several times greater than the routine load. Last year demonstrated that internet exchanges is that is a friend indeed in an emergency. Last year was a very revealing year in terms of the capability, the telecom industry and internet exchanges as well. Membership is ISP. 20% is contactors. Corporate customers are becoming more and more digital. They are running more and more of their businesses online, and the governments too today are very much focused in digitizing the lives of the people. So really, the internet exchanges are a book. It's a book that tells the story of the development of the society. It tells you how countries develop, how societies develop. Then we social organizations and educational organizations, and among our members, and especially educational organizations in the times of the pandemic, you know that more and more people started learning from home. More people started learning remotely, and all the projects related to education today consume a lot of traffic, and they must be present. I mean, those educational projects, they must be present at internet exchanges that use it. I don't want this is the geography of MSK, so let's move on. Now, we can take the portfolio of the services that MSKIX offers to discuss which kind of business and which services and IX could potentially provide. We could talk about the range of potentially could offer to the market. Today, IX is not just an internet exchange point. We position ourselves as a multi-platform. We've got four platforms: IX, Media Logistanet, and DNS. I will give you a quick overview of these platforms. My presentation is in no sense commercial, and I to prove to you that an internet exchange is not just a traffic exchange. You can start with this infrastructure and generate additional services that bring value, that add value, different users. And it's not all certain kind of services with an internet exchange. The first platform, it's all straightforward. It's a standard internet exchange, peering communication, peering interaction. From the perspective of MSKIX, in addition to the standard peer communication, we also add the so-called mix service. Mix is a service that enables from city to connect to a route service. Say users can get a local peering for the euros, but they can also connect to Moscow. And in Moscow, of course, you have much more traffic, you have much more content, you have much more foreign participants. And in this respect, well, say Moscow of at all of our Russian points of presence. Why did we do it? Because there is a lot of discussion and distributed internet exchanges to answer this question straight away. The thing is, major operators from Yekaterinburg themselves, they will come to Moscow and they will connect themselves. But the small operators, for them, the Yekaterinburg to Moscow link plus the cost of peering in Moscow was more expensive than IP transit. It was not competitive for them. So small and medium-sized I could not afford to connect to Moscow. And the ones who were connecting, they used poor quality links, and service as a result was also quite poor. What we did, we backed up the links. We are now offering backed up links, and this solves the issue of quality and cost. We bring Moscow traffic to the regions now, and now the regional operators can pay full fees to connect to the Moscow traffic. This is how we expanded communication between Moscow and the regions. This is how we increased the number of members who exchange their traffic in Moscow, and this made the regions closer to the main goal we want to achieve, and we did it. Another project that is taking 5 years related to television, media logistica, and internally it has logic. It's based on the same logic as an internet exchange. What is an internet exchange? So on the one hand, you have, the other hand, you have content, and they generate the of into an internet exchange. What is media logistica? Well, you have telecom operators who offer IP, TV, and television to their subscribers, and on the other hand, we set up a pool of TV channels. We went to talk to broad and we connect to them using land lines, and we can deliver TV signal in the original quality, the best possible, including 4K land. This an extremely popular project. The project is still developing. We are actively engaging with partners in Russia, as the majority of operators subscribe to this service, and many internet exchange could become such an alternative. They could alternative service, or they could become partners to MSKIX. I believe that this service is it fits very well a model of an internet exchange, because TV and internet, they are closely related from the perspective of end users and from the perspective of the telecom operators. So from that, I think that this project is extremely exciting, and it has already shown its promise. It demonstrates the keys of an internet exchange, adds value to an internet exchange, really. In the past, the businesses, the TV channels, they did not understand what use they would have of an internet exchange. Now, more and more businesses and media businesses are learning about the advantages of copy. This is not an easy service to provide. It's quite complicated. Will there is a way, and our experience, all technical be overcome because the surf is such a winner. What else can be done? Well, since there is already connectivity between the cities, we set it up for our members. It would be only natural if we could enable the not only as peers. When we talk about Moscow Internet Exchange, it's not just one node. In all city presence, we have networks. In Moscow, we have 17 data centers that are connected into a network the running on the various streams, scaled and managed via an account, an online account, and our members are getting access to a multi-service platform. They can use the same services that they can exchange with MSKIX last year. And well, not just last year, actually, it's been developed. We have seen demand service. That's why at Instanet platform, we organize cloud connectivity. We deliver and we provide access to DDoS services. That is to say, partner service can be added to an internet exchange. Anything is possible. You can whatever. DNS platforms. I do not want to go into too many details. It's just that at an internet exchange, there should be DNS service of root domains, which ensures additional acceleration for internet for the connectivity. It's something that you should definitely have. What else? Months ago, with ITI-IX, they are our partners. We were their consultants, supporting the technical infrastructure, but everything related to business engagement that is done by our colleagues in Uzbekistan. This project is extremely relevant in the context of today's session. This pilot project, first project's kind, and it was a tremendous success. The opening internet exchange and very fast growth of the membership proves that there is a demand for internet exchanges. Most of Russian content after the IX was set up in Uzbekistan, most of the Russian content, the cache service to Tashkent, and this incentive for the development industry of the local market. And speaking about partners, what kind of partners can an IX have? An IX is a neutral organization in the majority, and it certainly applies to MSK IX. We are neutral and we hold our place in the ecosystem. We do not compete with anyone, and for every brand and a partner. For the data centers where we place our nodes, for the trunk operators who bring in and users from different cities, IXs to each other, not necessarily competitors. They can be and they should be partners. I believe in partnerships, and I believe that the business development in any country is possible when you find good partners. Case with DECIX, our partnership with DECIX, to agreed to become partners with DECIX. And it's a very good example with two IXPs, and you end up with a set of services to the customer on both sides of the border. Colleagues, thank you very much. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and found something useful in it. Of course, I could be going into many more details, the topics that I brought up today, but we are perhaps try to be brief. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you, Evgeny. Thank you, Zhenya. Enjoy the presentation very much. It shows what an IX can be, what it can become, and how it can develop and mature through friendship and partnerships. I agree. Partnerships work. Competition is necessary, but sometimes partnerships deliver better results. I suggest that ask to Evgeny during the Q&A session if you want to put them orally. And now let's turn to speak.
Hello, let me share my screen. Good, I got the right one. Always exciting. I am Susan Forney from Hurricane Electric, and I am very pleased to be able to present at the first virtual peering series for Central Asia. It is quite early here on the East Coast. I'm in the Eastern United States like Jane Coffin, and so it's just coming up on 6 o'clock in the morning, so I'll try to be a little bit more animated than I felt perhaps an hour ago. So today I'm here to talk to you about Peering 101, which is really a talk about the fundamentals of peering. Now, I work for Hurricane Electric. There's one thing we know, it's peering. As of this morning, we are peering with 9,103 unique, and we're peering with 5,800 PV6, which is actually a 14% increase over last year. We also peer on 258 internet exchanges, which is up from 223 last year. We peer with more networks than any other network in the world, so we know a thing or two about peering. And that's the reason why I came to talk to you about the fundamentals of peering on internet exchange. Today, we're going to focus on two things: how to peer more strategically and how to be a good neighbor. And foremost, investment. Exchange. They are not metered by the bit, but they're not free. People are needed to configure and maintain devices, and unfortunately, people expect to be paid. And network devices need power and a space to occupy. And also, you have to pay for your exchange port too, and none of that is free. So whatever your reasons for joining an internet exchange, you're making an investment in your network. So why not take the time to think about how to get the most out of that port? Now, once you have joined the internet exchange, of course, you're going to want to look around and see who's available to peer. This is a continuous process because internet exchanges are not static. No, new networks are always joining them. So you should read your email from your exchange provider because they will usually notify you when there's a new kid in town, or you can check the list to see who is new on the exchange. If there's a network that you would like to peer with and they're not on the exchange, invite them. It never hurts to ask. They might be considering getting a port. So if they aren't ready yet, ask them if they have a timeline. You never know. And if you're not on an exchange already or consider joining one, maybe it would be time to gather some information about exchanges. Now, on this page, fortunately, there's a lot of information about exchanges on the internet, and this is one of them. It's Hurricane's bgp.he.net site. On the BGP Toolkit homepage, on the left, there's a bunch of links to other tools, and one of them is a handy exchange report, which I have circled in red here. And then if we go to the next slide, you can see it. And this is what you would see if you clicked on that link. It's a list of the internet exchanges where you can peer, and currently there are 784 of them listed. Each exchange has a link to its members and other information about the exchange. If you are searching for exchanges, if you click the Internet Exchange column, you'll get the exchanges listed in alphabetical order. By default, they're listed by the number of members. It starts with the most members first. If you are looking for an exchange in a particular country, they are also available to be sorted by country code, or you can sort them by city. So it makes it a little bit easier to find something that you're looking for. Now, one of these exchanges, you will get an information sheet about the exchange. And here I have pulled up SNX-IX, which is a local exchange. And every page has information about this same information about the exchange. It shows you a link to a website if they have one, and what region or country they're in, the city, and then the technical contacts for the exchange, and then the prefixes over which you can peer on them. And there's also a list of members, and to make that a little bit easier to read, I put them on this slide so you can see. And for this slide shows that there are all the members that are on the SNX website, or on exchange rather. Look at the big picture. And the following example I'm going to give you shows why you should consider very carefully what prefixes you are going to announce over an exchange. This picture shows two fictional networks, and I do want to mention here that everything about them is fictional, including the AS number. I thought when I first started making this slide that I would use the 32-bit AS numbers and I would get one that no one was using. And then as I was making this slide, the first three numbers I picked, someone picked up and started using. So I'm using numbers here that are not assignable, so they can't be used. So if you're an RFC hound and you've noticed that, that was on purpose. So I have here a green network and a blue network. And the green network represents a company that sells online services, and a lot of its customers are located in different countries and some distance away. And they have a bunch of customers rather in one country. And so what they decided to do was set up a satellite location, which is represented by the little green tower. And the satellite location has a long haul connection back to the main company, and then it can use the internet to find its customers, which a lot of which are behind this blue network that I've shown at the bottom. Now, everything is going great for this company. They're providing better services, lower latency, and then they discovered that they can join an internet exchange. And of course, joining an internet exchange is a good idea. But unfortunately, when the green company joins the internet exchange, they forget about why they have this satellite location in the first place. And they announce all of their prefixes, including the ones of the satellite location across the exchange. And now the exchange is the best route for all of those prefixes for the satellite location. And the blue network gets those routes and sends them back through the green network and all the way across to where the satellite location, instead of the shorter distance across the internet. So this is a reason why you should think very carefully about your network architecture and what you're trying to accomplish when you join an internet exchange, because internet exchanges can reduce latency or not. So you need to be careful. Now, Next, we're why you should be a good neighbor. And at fundamentally, peering is a relationship between you and exchange inhabitant. Neighborship is actually pretty important. Relationships work better when everybody knows what they should expect. And fortunately, a lot of work for this has been done for you. There is this wonderful site called Manners for Network Operators, and it outlines all of the things that you can do to be a better neighbor on the internet. And I have actually provided a link to this site in my resource list at the end of the slides. Now, Manners provides a simple set of expectations to avoid the following problems: incorrect routing information, traffic with spoofed source IP addresses, and coordination and collaboration between networks. Manners also outlines the things that other networks can expect that you will do, which is prevent the propagation of incorrect routing information, facilitate global operational communication and coordination, and facilitate routing information on a global scale like IRRs. So first, we're going to look at as you really must do when you announce your routes. So let's talk about incorrect routing information. Start by advertising only the routes you are authorized to announce. The first type of route that you are authorized to announce is any prefix that lists your ASN as the origin. And these routes must pass origin validation. You are also allowed to announce prefixes that you have documented that you are authorized to announce. You do this by documenting your route policy with RPSL, usually by creating an OTNUM for your ASN and writing import and export statements that are published in the OTNUM. Looks like I might have skipped a slide. Yes, I did. Yeah, that's what I did. Okay, so sorry, it's so early. Consider creating RPKI ROAs for your prefixes. And I've got a slide here that shows why you should think about that. Currently, today, in the IPv4 prefix for IPv6s, there are 28% of the valid ROAs, and for IPv6, 29% have valid ROAs. At the beginning of this year, when I did another report on RPKI, it was 26 and 28% respectively. So just in a few months, it's grown even another 2%. RPKI is making serious adoption. If you're interested in learning more about RPKI and creating ROAs for your prefixes, you can look no further than the friendly RIPE folks who happen to be at this meeting. They can provide you with access to RIPE articles and sources for learning about RPKI and how to create ROAs for all of your prefixes, and are only too happy to do so. Okay, so I'd like to show you some examples of IRR policy documentation. So this next slide, OTNUM, and it's dedicated to a lot of you who are not familiar with IRR and RPKI validation. So I decided to zoom in on these things. This OTNUM happens to be for Hurricane Electric. And even though we peer with thousands of ASNs, our policy is very simple. If you can see from the import statement that we allow for any AS to advertise any prefixes to it. And when I say this is in principle. I will practice a little bit later. But in principle, we allow any AS as any prefixes. And then the export statement also is very simple. We allow any AS or to any AS, we will the prefixes that are in AS Hurricane, our AS set, and that lists all of the AS numbers that we are permitted to announce. MP export line shows the IPv6 policy that we have. That's what AFI IPv6 stands for. And it says to any network, we will announce AS Hurricane v6, which is our AS set for 6. So actually, that's pretty simple for a network as large as Hurricane. It isn't very difficult to document it. And also you would need to create an AS set, but of course that's not a lot of work. You just put all of the members in there and you're done. So next, and these are pretty simple. This is a route object belonging to Hurricane Electric, and notice that our ASN is listed as the origin. Don't forget to specify the origin ASN when you create the route object. You can create route objects without specifying the ASN, and it is a common mistake, and it keeps you from having a valid from your route being. So you need to do that. Talk about global operation communication and coordination, and you do that by being easy to contact. Please ensure that the information in the right database for your ASN is correct. And consider registering your ASN on peeringdb.com. Please respond quickly when you are notified of a problem. Sometimes people that you trust completely do bad things, or someone takes advantage of them and things happen on your network. And when someone is the victim of this bad behavior and the network operator is impossible to contact, it's very frustrating. You have a responsibility to resolve problems that originate from your network. So please make sure you keep this updated. Example of the peeringdb.com page, and you can see that it has a lot of useful information on it. It first, has all of your ASN and name and your company website. It also has all of the peering exchange points where you are able to be peered with, which is handy if you're trying to figure out if a network is located in the same spot that you are, so you can peer with them. And pro tip, if you log into PeeringDB, you actually get information about the network and its contacts. So after you register your company in PeeringDB, make sure that you can create a user account for yourself. And actually, you'd have to create one too. In the first is in PeeringDB, create your own user account and log in, because anyone can create a user account on PeeringDB. And that will allow you to, if you log in, that will allow you to see the information that you're looking for, which is how to get a hold of these people. So peering works when it is a good experience for both parties. So clean your advertisements. Please do not leak your face to your peers, and do not announce routes that don't originate from a public AS. Like if you have private ASs inside your network, please make sure you strip the private ASNs before you announce them to someone else. Do not announce a default route. Again, it happens more often than you might think. And for the other networks that you're peering with on the exchange, they might be perfectly fine people and you may trust them in the community, but honestly, you should never trust any network that you peer with. Set maximum prefix limits for your peers. This will save your bacon more than anything else you can do. It will protect you from leak routes. Is it very simple to do for each neighbor, and it is the most protection you can provide for yourself with the least amount of configuration on an internet exchange, or even on the internet in general. Please filter your routes, only the routes that are valid for the peer that you're peering with, and deny any private IP space or they might be advertising to you. Also, you might consider adopting RPKI route origin validation, which you can do along with the other networks in the world. And then you can deny RPKI invalids like everyone else does, and that would be helpful. Now, I know what you're going to think. You're thinking, Susan, I cannot build a BGP filter for every single neighbor that I have. It's way too much work. And honestly, it's actually pretty easy. You could use a tool like BGP Q3 and script it yourself. And here I've given you a quick handy example of how easy that is. The black line is all I had to type in to create this whole filter for my router. I just typed in the BGP Q3 command and -J for a Juniper router, which is my example here, -6 for IPv6, and -L because I want to be able to give my prefix list a name so that I can reference it when I paste it into the router that I am filtering for. And then I press return and everything in red shows up, ready to paste in your router. It does not get any easier than this. So please filter your neighbors. Everyone will thank you. So in summary, a lot of benefits if you treat your port like an investment and you peer strategically so you optimize your experience, and you're a good neighbor by announcing responsibly and filtering your sessions. Peering on an internet exchange will build valuable relationships and give you a strong sense of community for your network operators. And all you have to do is join the exchange. Your kind attention. I will be everyone else in the question and answer.
Susan, thank you very much for your excellent. It was very, very informative. And Evgeny, thank you as well. We didn't have time to thank you. It was very good, and I'm sure our attendees have a lot of interesting stuff from your presentation. I could capture a lot of insights from your presentation, because you explained how you started as a basic internet exchange and then you developed into a powerful platform of new services and value-added services useful for all of the community. And Susan, thank you very much for sharing your insights and tips. And your can be as basic as it, but you still have to be careful and responsible. And network hygiene and good manner, they are extremely important. So thank you for reminding us all about these facts again. Now I suggest that we open the Q&A session, and saw one question from Aziz Salbaev in the chat, and the question is related to services. Which root DNS service should be placed at an IX? How to apply for a server? Question for DDoS attacks. What are the hosted at IXs? Evgeny, Susan, who wants to take the question? Evgeny says, I would like to start answering the question first. Now, on the subject of root service, you have to that there are several organizations out there that are for root domain. Some organizations are responsible for .com, .net, are responsible for .ru.ref. Every key domain has a hosting organization that provides respective service. So there is not one answer, but say MSKIX can be responsible for .ru.ref, .moskva, and .tatar. These are the domains for which MSKIX is responsible in terms of technical infrastructure. So if you have any requests or questions about this root service, you can send them to us. Address that you can find in the contact section of the MSKIX website. You can write the address that to any email, an administrator of an administrative nature, and we will consider your request. Speaking about foreign domains, I wouldn't be able to get you the contacts here on the spot, but kroot, lroot. I mean, you can Google it. Really, you can find the providers, and you can access VeriSign, if I'm not mistaken, is responsible for these domains, and you can send them an email and ask them what are the terms and conditions hosting the DNS service at your place. I know that one of the K-root operators is RIPE-NCC. RIPE-NCC is one of the organizers of this event, so maybe a program to finance with you. You have all our emails. Vahan's email is in the chat. Again, if the question is relevant, please write to us. It can be done. It will take an effort. The process is not very uncomplicated, but we are open for any contacts, and we will be happy to receive your application. Thank you, Alex. Alex, is this a question to me? And of course, we'll be happy if you could take the question. Yes, right. Well, I can speak about the Russian experience. Russian legislation is going through a certain transformation. Now, the internet exchange is a notion that has a definition in the law, and there is now a rule that demands that all internet exchanges register at the Roskomnadzor website. It is a Russian supervisory authority for telecom, and there is another requirement that says that IXPs should share the information about a membership with the regulatory authorities. A couple of years ago, there was virtually no regulation of the activity of IXPs, and in the same way as all other telecom operators. But now IXPs are becoming a target of a special regulation. Now, with respect to the so-called SORM, the System for Operative and Investigative Activities, the technical means of operating such activities, law enforcement support system. Well, the telecom operators are supposed to install the SORM hardware onto their networks, and then where the traffic is going via an internet exchange or directly to the peers or through interaction with other operators, it does not meet the requirement. Is quite all traffic should be subject to SORM. All traffic should go. I can see that Hisham, Alex, and Bijal, they have their hands.
And thank you. I just wanted to share some experiences on regulation in general when it comes to IXPs. I'm no expert in regulation in the region, but I have seen a lot of countries that deal with exchanges very differently. You would find a very relaxed approach to exchanges. If you want to build an exchange, build it. In some countries, we see that mostly in Europe, and as was mentioned, that was mostly the direction that we are seeing more and more regulation on all aspects of the internet, not just exchanges coming into play. The context of exchanges, what we found is when we have productive dialogues with the government, they usually end up seeing the benefit of the exchange. And one of the immediate benefits for them is the keeping their local data local, the sovereign data aspect of it. This is something that they identify with, and there's something that they once you have a discussion that is framed in a way that suits the sovereign agenda, then they usually come through with this. And you do find ways of operating. You do find countries that require licenses. You do find that don't. But it's very the cases globally of completely restricting the idea of having an exchange. The second point about whether you inspections or something like that, that is also a common reality, and operators would do comply with this. There are mechanisms in place to get this done. It doesn't take away from the value of the exchange. So there's something to be said there, and maybe we can organize also sessions to be talking about this a little bit more, but it doesn't take away from, is there need to build an exchange to keep the local traffic local and to actually allow local players to come together and collaborate and share the information locally? The answer is always yes, and that is always a starting point for this dialogue.
Hello, hi, thank you. It's Bijal here. I just wanted to really echo what Hisham said, in that in Europe, the relationships between the governments, regulators and IXPs is they have a good relationship. What we found is that the IXPs and the regulators tend to work together to make sure that things are running smoothly. And a good example of that is when the coronavirus hit, there was restrictions being placed all over, countries, cities, towns. You weren't allowed to leave your house. Whereas, internet services had to be continued, technicians needed to access data centers. So in many countries, the internet exchanges worked with the regulators to give special passes so that, they were able to access the data centers that they needed to for critical work. In many countries now, internet exchange points are recognized as critical infrastructure, which is also, very important and very key here. I was just listening to Shavkat, and I think it's great to hear that in your country as well, that you're working closely with the government and the regulators so that, to bring an internet exchange point there. Thank you.
Build a business model at least. Alex, we already countries are requiring their IXPs, but I'm not sure that there is one central Asian IXP that would be able to cater to many countries in the region. Colleagues, we are slightly behind the schedule. We started a bit late, and I hope this is not a big problem for you. I see several raised hands among the participants, and I also see questions that we collected from the chat. So with your permission, let's take at least one other question. How do you start an IX? What is required? IMS IX, I know that they have projects in the region. Ona, maybe you can give us a brief overview of Ona.
Okay, good. Strategies is to expand globally, and we do that by ourselves. It's like the IX. The region of Central Asia is an interesting one. There are not that many internet exchanges, and there is a large population that is getting more digitally transformed. So for us, it's always an investigation research on where do the cables come in, what is the regulation like in the country. Are there carrier-neutral data centers present? Are there already existing internet exchanges operational in that country? And if so, is there still room for some others? So we in Uzbekistan, we partner with SNS IX, So thanks, Susan, that as an example in your presentation. And SNSIX will do by M6. So this partnership with the SNS group. And I believe that Leonid is here as well in this meeting. So I don't know if you want to add anything to it, Leonid, but for us, it's an interesting region, and we hope to look into other countries around it as well to expand there.
Have good news for everyone. The series is to be continued. We will send you the information about the dates. Please stay tuned. And we will continue those series for as long as it takes for IXPs to pop up in the region everywhere. And it will actually, it depends on you. That is to say, how long the series will last. Uh, when the IXP market is sufficiently developed there, we will stop the series. But I wanted to say once again a huge thank you to all the partners who assisted us in organizing this event, MSI, Facebook, and Flex Optics, the organizations that have always been our trusted partners, have always supported our initiatives. Oleg, I see that your hand was raised, and if you don't mind, we will discuss your question at the next session. I will assume this responsibility. I will make myself responsible for making sure that we do discuss your questions. We take them up at the next session, which is scheduled for the 13th of June. We will see each other again on June 13th, and at that webinar, we will continue discussing issues that you find very relevant. Wanted to thank again the organizers, ISO, GRIPE, NCC, EuroIX, all the speakers, Susan, Evgeny. Thank you, all this maybe for subsequent cooperation. Andrzej, yes, thank you very much. It was a very interesting session. I wanted to thank all the panelists and all the attendees who sent their exciting questions. Thank you very much, and see you next time. See you on July 13th. See you and goodbye.